Here we are in the month of April 2019, the month I will turn 38 years old. Let's go back in time. What was going on a year ago in April 2018? Well, I was still doing the zero guard buzz cut that I faithfully did there for a couple months. And then the last time I did it was April 30th. So we're definitely, now approaching a whole year since I have stopped doing the zero guard buzz cut. And so, that was a big part of my channel there for a while. I mean, I made well over 100 videos during that time, and largely about the concept that I was shaving my head, zero guard buzz cut. And even with the razor, even, there was a time where I did that even. And, I will be doing it again at some point. I'm just not doing it right now. But when I feel like it, because Nick Shell does whatever he wants to do, when I feel like it, I'll do it again. I just don't feel like it right now. But I was looking through a comment that our great friend and our house barber, Maxwell Smart, who lives in a secret hideout in Germany, he left a comment this week talking about how across the world, men who are in the military and men, like for example, monks, a lot of people in men's religious groups shave their head. And I just want to dwell on that for a moment. I want us to explore that and consider what that really means about the male identity. That in military and in religion, that is a component there that men do in groups. They shave their head in groups as part of a community, as part of a masculine identity community. So it's pretty interesting when it comes to that, because that's something men specifically do and have in common. Yes, women these days are doing the buzz cut thing, but it's not the same thing when women do it. It has a different connotation. But when men do it in groups, it's funny, here's immediately what I think of. I think of the first time I did that, and that's when I was in college, and everybody in my dorm, I mean, the majority of people, were doing that. And it's not peer pressure, oh, I'm going to shave my head because everybody else is doing it. It was more like, well, I've never shaved my head, so if it looks awful, at least I'll be surrounded by other people who look as dumb as I do. But when I did it, immediately all the guys were like, wow, you actually can very well pull that off. And, that was in my early 20s. I've carried that with me. I've known that since then. And it's funny because there's such a positive connotation for me about, if you're losing your hair, just shave it off, right? I mean, and I'm kind of in between because I haven't lost enough hair yet, even with my diffuse thinning and receding hairline. I haven't lost enough hair yet to really justify. I'm still at the point where if I shave my head, people will say, well, that looks good on you, can pull up. But ultimately, their first reaction is, why'd you do that? You aren't losing your hair. That's what they say to me, even though we can clearly see the receding hairline. Society does not accept that I've lost enough hair to truly qualify for shaving it all off. That's how society feels. But for me personally, and when I feel like doing it again, I will. But there is just something I celebrate about that, and I always have. So there's no fear about me going bald. And I know it's not the same as whether you can or cannot grow hair. You shave your head, there's still going to be a difference, and they can see and all, the actual hairline. It doesn't matter to me. And I know that puts me at odds with so many of you, because you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear, well, if you go bald, you just shave it all off. You don't want to hear that. Hair means too much to you. It's too much part of your identity. And I understand that. That's just where you're at in life. And it would be a tragedy if you carry on that concept when you're my age, still worrying about your hair. Because that's the real irony, is so many of you watching my channel, you're not going to go bald soon. You're going to show some signs of recession and stuff, but you're not going to go bald by the time you're 25 or 30 or even 35. But as long as you're worrying that you will, isn't that almost as bad as actually going balding if you spend all that time worrying about something that may happen and hasn't? Let's just consider that. Let's consider this fear of going bald and not having hair, when then there's people like me like, but that's a way that you celebrate masculinity. You shave your hair off. Men do this in the military. They do this in religious groups. I spent 2 summers in Thailand, And I saw monks everywhere all the time, in their orange robes and their shaved heads. So it was like, I was exposed to that. And of course, obviously military too. I mean, and I'm sure if we thought about it in the comments, we could even think about other times, other occurrences where men in a group shave their head as part of that identity. That's where I'm at. This is how I feel. These are my thoughts and views. What are yours? Comments? Right here.